Leading your team through a crisis redefines your leadership skills and mandates that leaders adapt new skills to the situation. During COVID-19, the crisis leadership has turned into a long-term strategy, requiring more frequent adaptation to change, and as business owners go through the process of reopening and moving forward into a new normal, leadership has continued to test our skills. I'm Kelly Richardson, the president and founder of Vinone Public Relations, and this course, Crisis Leadership, is part of the Montana Women's Business Recovery Series produced by Accelerate Montana. I have over 10 years of experience leading business communication and marketing strategies, as well as 15 years of experience as a female business owner. Prior to founding Vinone, I owned a manufacturing company in the professional spa industry and a chain of salons where I learned firsthand how important adopting clear business communications practices is and how communication and marketing work cohesively to elevate brands. I'm a member of the Montana chapter of the Public Relations Society of America. I will be teaching you how to evaluate and adapt your leadership skills so that you can continue to be effective during a crisis situation. The insights that I share with you and the activities that we complete together in this class will surround looking how society views women leaders, how women leaders tend to overcompensate, and how to strategize during a long-term crisis. The most important part of this course is how to take care of yourself so that as a leader, you can continue to give to those that you lead. The skills that you learned in the previous course, Crisis Communications, and this course will continue to provide a foundation for the other courses that I am teaching through Accelerate Montana. So make sure you take good notes. It is important to remember as we move through this class together and the other classes that I am presenting that every leader is different. There is no one-size-fits-all solution, and you need to take time to think about and what works for you instead of mimicking something that somebody else is doing. So often I see business owners and leaders look at another similar business or person that's like them and copy exactly what they're doing without really taking time to think through the strategy and ensure that it will fit their business or the team that they're leading. So everything that I present to you in this class is designed to spur your thought process and give you the tools that you need to strategize on your own. Your answers in the activities are going to be different than other students. Your views after the readings are going to be different than the other students. And it's important to remember that there are no wrong or right answers. So how do we navigate leadership as women? It is really hard to find a happy medium as a female leader or founder of an organization. We often get put into two boxes. We're either really harsh or we don't have a backbone. And as we strive to grow our companies and build our organizations, we can get so many boxes and categories pummeled at us that it's hard not to let that define you and get to you as a leader. Generally, men and women have different leadership styles. That's not always true, as I've personally found women who grew up in their careers within male-dominated businesses, industries, and organizations tend to take on those same leadership styles that are normally attributed to men, as that is what they learn early on in their careers. Likewise, men that start their careers out leading groups of women tend to take on the leadership qualities that women usually take on. So it's not always cut and dry. I will share that my working career began in the construction industry, surrounded at a very young age by men who tended to have a command and control leadership style, which really works for that kind of industry. And that is what I learned as my leadership skill base. I saw these men were successful. They were able to make quick and fast decisions. They were workaholics, and they directed their employees to success. And I thought for years that those traits needed to be mimicked in order to be successful myself. Women generally have a more cooperative and participatory leadership style, and they have a greater emphasis on listening and conversation. So bringing my leadership style, which was developed working with men in the construction industry, to the female-dominated beauty industry did not work. It took me a long time to realize that I needed to adjust my leadership style to meet those that I was working with. I think we get stuck in getting put into a leadership style box that we have to be this way or we have to be that way. And in job interviews, they always ask you to define what kind of leader you are. And we never really give ourselves permission to tailor our leadership style to the situation that we're working in and the people that we're working with. So many women in leadership roles move opposite of the leadership traits that society perceives we should have, which in turn creates imbalance and overcompensates. The first example of this is women leaders are expected to be more caring and less demanding. So my situation coming into the beauty industry was the opposite. I was more demanding and less caring in a situation where I needed to meet the needs of the women that I was leading. Women leaders must demand high performance from our teams and ourselves, but still show that we care about those that we are working with. I remember one time walking into my office and my receptionist could not wait to show and tell me about the hot pink hair that she now had and all the steps that it took to get it and explain how it took all weekend. I had walked through the doors with a mental to-do list that was literally sounding alarms in my head, and all of the other things that are running through a business owner's mind first thing on a Monday morning. And as I stopped to listen to what she was saying, I was telling myself, I really don't care about this. There were 500 things more important to me on a Monday morning than being face to face with a chatterbox employee that wanted me to acknowledge and care about her hair. So had she approached me on a Friday afternoon at 3 p.m. and told me her upcoming plans for the weekend and to dye her hair pink, I probably would have been in the mindset to be more interested and carry on a conversation about it. As I look back on that situation, I entered the doors of my business focused on what I needed to do for the business and not what I needed to do as a leader. After a few more of these instances, I realized that when I went to the office, I needed to be attentive, present, and available for my employees, and not focused on the work that I needed to get done. I made a change and moved my office to my house where I was able to be serious, get work done, work on the business, and that way when I showed up at the office, I was able to be present, available, and engaged to the women that I was leading. Number 2, women leaders are expected to be more participative than authoritative. I have always been conscious of how I can be more participative in the work of any of my companies. There's never been a task that was not beneath me. If the trash needed to be taken out, I took it out. But I was also at times too authoritative, which backfired with employees not respecting me and not respecting my business. Number 3, women leaders are expected to serve others and not advocate for themselves. So this is a space where it is really important to remain balanced. How do you support others and still move yourself forward? How can you give others your knowledge and expertise and train them and not feel like a failure when they don't reciprocate? If you are too focused on pushing yourself forward and aligning things to benefit you, your team may feel left out. And this can be true for any environment inside the workplace or outside the workplace. Number 4, women leaders are expected to be more approachable and less distant. I have always had a hard time with this. I feel left out when the people that I'm leading develop close relationships amongst themselves instead of looking at that as a success and that I was able to build a great team that works good together. But at the same time, I value my privacy. I feel that my employees should not be my friends on social media and that I have had to maintain professional boundaries. And I tend to feel guilty if I'm on vacation while they are working, even though I put in double the amount of hours that most of my employees do. So where do you find the balance without overstepping a professional boundary? You don't want to create an impression that you are stiff or apathetic or out of touch with your team. So stepping out from what is expected of us as women leaders and looking at what makes a great leader regardless of gender. As I mentioned earlier, it's important to find balance for yourself as a leader on the spectrums, but it's also important as a leader to adapt to the situation. Do you always need to sit at the head of the table as a leader, or can you sit in another location and be part of the team? Making your workplace a team atmosphere in which everyone is encouraged to participate is key. If you can develop relationships, good, strong, collaborative relationships, you will have a better chance of your team accepting decisions that they don't like and understanding where you are coming from. Spend time teaching, mentoring, and listening to individual concerns and needs. Look at things with a win-win goal. For your activities for Module 1, you'll move on to Reading 1.1, where you will read The Mommy Problem, Navigating Leadership as a Woman, 6 qualities that successful women leaders typically possess, and good leadership is an act of kindness. After you finish your readings, you will participate in a leadership trait reflection activity, and then I will see you back here for video 1.2.